Today, a double warning from the IMF. It says the global recovery is slowing down and it's cutting its forecast. Why? California moves towards banning gas-powered lawnmowers and leaf blowers. What does it mean for the landscaping business, and why are some lawmakers concerned? And consumers are spending big on diamonds. What's behind the surge in demand? That and much more coming up on NTD Business. Good evening. Great to have you with us. I'm Paul Graney. A double warning from the International Monetary Fund today. It says the economic recovery is slowing and it's cutting its 2021 U.S. growth forecast by a full percentage point. Economists had warned that as stimulus wore off, business would cool off. IMF agrees consumer spending isn't living up to expectations. It's also blaming overheating supply chains hampered by labor shortages. And just to give you a sense on just how reliant on stimulus the economy may be, the IMF says it will cut its growth forecast again if Congress's multi-trillion-dollar infrastructure bills aren't passed. And that's a real possibility, as inflation becomes a hotter topic with many, including the IMF, telling central banks and governments to prepare to tighten monetary policy or reduce debt to fight rising prices. An unprecedented increase in the money supply last year has contributed to an inflationary environment the IMF now calls highly uncertain. It wants officials to be ready to act if prices do spiral out of control, but some economists believe that will be too late. So with warnings on both inflation and slowing growth, investors are facing risks to the portfolios. Ted Oakley is an investment manager, specializes in helping high net worth individuals preserve their wealth. He's the founder of Oxbow Advisors. Ted, real pleasure to have you on the show. Thanks so much for coming on. How are you navigating this very uncertain economic environment, and where do you see the biggest risks?
You know, Paul, for us, the way we navigate it is we have a good balance. You know, I think people here don't know if rates will go up or down, but I'll just say this: if we're going into a slower period, for example, if you look at the companies we own on the stock side, and we have a stock side and a high income side, but on the stock side, we have companies that you'll still continue to use. You know, we have healthcare, and we have companies that are in software, the cloud, that type of thing. And one of the things that we find with that is even when things slow down like they were last year, we still use those things. It's not like we're out of business or something like that. It may change it a little bit, but that's what happens. On the other portfolio, the high income portfolio, we're widely diversified. We have quite a few too big to fail type large bank preferreds, which if rates go down, will participate. We're not in the long bond at all. I think that's a risk, but we've got a lot of energy on that side. And you'll see us holding a lot of medical real estate investment trusts. And then we have a lot of things in fertilizer, timber, and that sort of thing. So we're widely diversified on both sides. I think we can catch it either way. And we have a lot of cash. I'll tell you, we're averaging between the portfolios 26, 27% liquid right now.
It sounds like quite a rational and patient approach. Do you feel in the market at the moment there's a lot of exuberance? You feel this is the nature of the market we're in?
Paul, I think that is exactly the nature of the market we're in. If you look at all the speculative activity going on, and it's huge. It's not only in stocks, but in so many other things, in SPACs, in cryptocurrencies, NFTs, real estate. You can just go down the list of things that are happening. And one of the things I found, I've written a number of books, but one of the things I found, I wrote a book one time called The Psychology of Staying Rich, and I interviewed a lot of very wealthy people that have more than 400 or 500 million in net worth. And one of the things I found about all of them that's different from the small investor is they always keep a lot of liquidity. And you know why? Well, number one, they don't have to be in the market all the time. And secondly, they wait for a time when they can really pick things up at the right price. And that's our philosophy, really. It comes. We don't know when it comes, but it always comes. We'll get a better price on something.
Agreed. You mentioned energy just now. Do you feel that there's an opportunity for investing in the non-renewables, traditional energy sources, given all of the discouragement and, ESG that's discouraging people from actually investing there? You think it's a good opportunity for people?
Well, Paul, I will tell you this. I think when you can't put gas in your car or heat your home, you'll probably forget about what ESG means. It won't mean anything to you, certainly if you can't, and so what's happening is we've been in energy now for a year. And people thought we were crazy. I said last year in July and August, I said probably oil will go over 80 bucks. I think it could easily go over 100 next year. I think people are not understanding that by the way, I'm a big conservationist myself, but the problem is the timeline doesn't fit. You can't come off a world full that's working on fossil and go to green when nobody can make it work. An example, last night, the UK came out and said starting in May of 22, if you have an electric car, you're only going to get a few hours a day. You have to come off the grid, and they're going to make sure you do it with a smartphone, but you can't charge that electric vehicle all day. That's just one start, okay? But when you get to this to look at it, I think people are misinterpreting what the energy setup is, and I think natural gas goes a lot higher too. Obviously, it's very high, in all of Europe, but I think that's going to catch up in the U.S. as well.
Absolutely. Ted Oakley, Oxbow Advisors, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
It looks like small business owners are already feeling the slowdown. Their optimism dropped in September, and their outlook for business conditions over the next 6 months fell to a 9-year low. According to the NFIB's latest report, inflation and hiring difficulties are weighing on business owners. They say they're doing their best to serve customers, but they can't get the supplies and products they need to do it. On the talent side, for the third straight month in a row, a record high number of small business owners can't fill job openings. They had the same challenges back in August, and now we know that almost 3% of working Americans quit their job that month. That's a record high. Some say it's a sign Americans are confident they can find a better job. Still, we don't know for sure why they left. More than half were in the accommodation and food services industry, but 25,000 people both left the wholesale trade, business, and government education. The number of job openings fell slightly in August, though there were still a near record number of listings. Combine that with recent reports of sharper wage growth, and this suggests workers have the upper hand in negotiations and choice of work. That's despite nearly 8 million people being unemployed. So joining us to discuss job openings is a man who's been desperately trying to fill job postings all year and even for longer. Mike Kucharski is the CEO of JKC Trucking. Mike, real pleasure to see you as always. I think I wanted to bring you on because I feel the jobs you're trying to fill are critical, really, to this economic recovery and trying to iron out the problems we're seeing in the supply chain. So do you have any positive news to report since we've last spoken?
Thank you for having me on your show again. Since we last spoken, it's been interesting because the job reports came out. Obviously, it showed that 60% of Americans, if I remember correctly, are employed and 40% are unemployed. I mean, right now, I have not seen any huge jumps or swings. Just to give you an idea, last week I hired one driver, but 2 left. So we're still in the same boat. And I've, looking at the ports or the railways, they are also struggling. I think, when all these people are, coming into the new job community, it's just going to take a while to get the wheels rolling again because we came to a complete stop, which killed the economy.
You feel that the ports and stuff as well, they're still short. This is the primary reason for the backlog we're seeing there?
Yeah, the ports are not catching up anytime soon. That's going to be a long issue. That's definitely going to spill into 2022. I was even hearing that the ports are, I assume the ports were working 2 shifts, but I heard a rumor that they're only working 1 shift. So I don't know if they're, regrouping and they're doing maintenance on the 2nd shift, but it's going to take a while to get this going again.
Oftentimes when we run stories about unemployment and job openings, a lot of people, well, some people comment under the videos, oh, you got to pay them more. But from listening to you, that people are getting paid more, but it's not really encouraging them to come back. Am I hearing it right?
Yeah, So I just came back from a conference from Austin, Texas, and I was, sitting in a roundtable discussion with other owners, and money is not the silver bullet to fix this. People are working. Actually, one lady was giving an example that workers used to work 4 days to make enough money for them to support their family and do what they had to do to be happy. Now they've increased pay. They're working 3 days and they don't want to work an hour over because they just want to work as enough to get there. Another owner said that he was paying double time for workers to work on Saturday and Sunday, and they were saying no to him. So, everybody says money, would do it. What I've seen so far with my business and other businesses, money's not cutting it.
Wow, great insight. Mike Kucharski, JKC Trucking, thank you and good luck.
Thank you.
It's not just the American supply chain that's under pressure. The world's largest shipping firm, Maersk, is diverting big ships away from a British port because it's so jammed. They're instead rerouting the cargo to somewhere else in Europe and then transporting the goods to the UK. Maersk blames the trucker shortage in the UK for the backup. Spokesperson for the port says many factors caused the buildup, including the surge of demand before Christmas, transport shortages, and congested inland terminals. The port handles about a third of the UK's freight. And stocks finished lower today. Investors perhaps jittery in the run-up to third quarter earnings. The Dow fell 118 points, about 1/3%. S&P 500 lost 11 points, about 1/4%, while the Nasdaq lost 20 points, about 1/10%. But consumers are splurging on diamonds this year. Signet Jewelers is now raising its outlook for the second time in recent weeks. It's also buying another jewelry chain. NTD's Fake Quarter reports.
The diamond market is on fire right now.
Demand for diamonds right now is probably the strongest that it's been in at least 10 years.
Signet Jewelers said Tuesday it decided to buy the jewelry chain Diamonds Direct USA for $490 million in cash. It's trying to reach younger shoppers and achieve its annual revenue goal of $9 billion. After the news, Signet shares jumped more than 5%. So why is the diamond industry doing so well right now when others aren't?
A lot of the stimulus that's kind of passing through to consumers in the U.S., but also globally. Consumers have additional income to spend on items like luxury, but at the same time, people are not spending money on these experiential items like fine dining and international travel, but instead they're buying material luxury items like diamonds.
From the sentimental side, people could be giving diamonds to loved ones to show how much they care.
I think people are giving diamonds as an emotional gift to signal to the people that they spent the pandemic with how much they mean to them and how important to them they are.
As venues reopen, more people are also ready to hold weddings and other celebrations with loved ones.
The number of weddings that is occurring in the U.S. this year is probably the highest in multiple years because of the pent-up demand.
Zimnisky estimates that diamond sales in the U.S. will be at least 10% higher than before the pandemic, and expectations are for the upcoming holiday season to be very strong. Faye Quarter, NTD News.
And drug maker Moderna doesn't want to share its vaccine formula, even after pressure from the United Nations to do so. NTD's Con Fredrickson explains.
Moderna doesn't want to share its COVID-19 vaccine formula, despite pleas from the United Nations.
The most reliable way to make high-quality vaccines and in an efficient way is going to be if we make them. We went from having zero production to 1 billion doses in less than a year, and we think we'll be able to go from 1 to 3.
Nubar Afeyan is the chairman of Moderna. He says Moderna won't enforce its vaccine patent, but they still just don't want to give out the formula.
Look, we have spent $2.5 billion and 10 years developing the platform that we use to make a vaccine. But in terms of me speculating how easy it would be for people to start from scratch, it's hard for me to imagine that they would be able to get any meaningful scale in a short time frame.
One professor of public health at New Mexico State University says Moderna should allow other companies to manufacture the vaccines to see if they can.
They're seeking their fair share on the profit, and they don't want anyone else to manufacture. And I think that's the big problem that we are facing in this pandemic, that all the private big pharma companies are trying to make as much profit as they can.
Wesley Ulm is a physician at the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center. He says the Moderna vaccine is one of the principal vaccines in the United States and in several countries overseas.
Moderna has been found, in comparison to the J&J and the Pfizer vaccines, to be quite effective at reducing hospitalization from the Delta variant.
Moderna received billions from the U.S. government to develop the vaccine, and now many connected to the firm are billionaires, including Nubar Afeyan. Colin Fredrickson, NTD News.
And South Korean battery firms will cover the lion's share of General Motors' Chevy Bolt recall. LG Chem and LG Electronics will together pay $1.2 billion. That's more than GM is expected to pay. LG built the batteries that caused the vehicles to catch fire. GM and the two battery makers discovered two rare defects that caused the fires. The recall is going to cost GM an estimated $2 billion, and it expects the deal will help to offset some of that cost. But despite electric vehicle and power grid challenges, by 2035, California will require all new cars and passenger trucks sold in the state to be zero emissions. And the governor just signed a new law that will ban gas-powered lawnmowers and other gardening equipment too. Could put landscaping businesses in a difficult situation. But lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are worried about something else. NTD's Evelyn Lee explains.
California is banning the sale of new gas-powered equipment using small off-road engines. Governor Gavin Newsom signed the bill into law on Saturday, and it could come into effect by 2024. That includes lawnmowers and leaf blowers. The state set aside $30 million to help professional landscapers and gardeners make the transition, but some don't think that's enough. An estimated 50,000 small businesses will be affected. Some state officials say running a gas-powered leaf blower for 1 hour emits the same amount of pollution as driving a Toyota Camry for about 1,000 miles. But the National Association of Landscape Professionals said zero-emission equipment is also much more expensive and less efficient. While the tool could cost twice as much, another expense will be batteries. During a full day's work, a 3-person landscaping crew would need to carry around 35 fully charged batteries. Republican lawmakers and some Democrats are concerned, especially when it comes to portable generators. California has had widespread blackouts in recent years. Republican Senator Brian Dahl says that if the battery-powered generator is dead, there is nothing left to keep freezers or medical devices going. Evelyn Lee, NTD News.
And the energy crisis continues in China. Coal prices hit records again today as flooding pushed the energy industry deeper into crisis. Two key mining regions suffered torrential rain. In one province, 60 mines have been closed out of about 700. They're only slowly restarting operations now. It's pushed up the prices 20% since Sunday. China is trying to boost coal output as it's facing its worst power crunch in years. It's raised the price caps for electricity so suppliers can now charge more to make up the cost. And the chief of the International Monetary Fund will keep her job. The fund's executive board made the decision after reviewing allegations against her. She was previously accused of skewing data in a World Bank report to appease China. NTD's Don Ma has the details.
Kristalina Georgieva will remain chief of the International Monetary Fund after its 24-member concluded a probe Monday. It investigated claims that she tampered with data to appease Beijing.
It is a very exciting day for me, the first one in which I will step through the doors of the IMF as the managing director.
Georgieva was accused of pressuring staff to boost China's standing in a World Bank report titled Doing Business 2018. The lender said in a review last year that China's ranking should have been 7 places lower, 85th instead of 78th. A report by outside law firm Wilmer Hale, at the request of the World Bank, cast a spotlight on China's influence at the institution. After a week of meetings with Wilmer Hale attorneys and Georgieva, the fund made its conclusion, stating she didn't demonstrate misconduct in handling the allegedly rigged report when she served as chief executive of the World Bank. The statement added that the board trusts in the managing director's commitment to maintaining the highest standards of governance and integrity in the IMF. Georgieva is a Bulgarian economist who served the World Bank from 2017 to 2019. She joined the International Monetary Fund in late 2019, becoming the first person from a developing country to head the fund.
And still to come this evening. An English family buys some garden ornaments for a couple $100, but it turns out they're worth much more. What are they and how much are they really worth? And a successful test flight in Greece, a drone delivers medicine for the first time as part of a project to create more environmentally friendly transport methods. That and more coming up on NTD Business.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm gonna pass the savings directly on to you. For example, you get my 6-piece towel sets, regular $109.99, now only $44.98, or MyPillow dog beds for as low as $19.99 with your promo code.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.
The final end. The end of mankind. The end of this wretched world. I came as a man of peace and the world bought it. Can you believe that? They even took the mark of the beast. Fools! Why did God even make human beings?
To glorify His name. But we were fools, and many will spend eternity in hell.
May God have mercy on their souls.
But fools are fools are fools. Satan loves fools, and so do I.
Welcome back. Amazon says it will let individual teams decide how often corporate employees will be expected to work from the office. It's a departure from a previous policy which required employees to return to the office for at least 3 days a week starting in January. Amazon, one of the largest private employers in the United States, will also require its employees to be close enough to their teams to be able to make it to in-person meetings with a day's notice. Exceptions will be made during a period when employees will be allowed to work for up to 4 weeks per year fully remotely from any location within the country of employment. Amazon's taken a flexible approach to reopening, like tech peer Microsoft, which said it would take a site-by-site approach to U.S. office reopenings. And Sam's Club is expanding its home delivery services with a new wine delivery option. It says it'll team up with the e-commerce company Drinks to offer its customers direct-to-home wine delivery. As part of several plans the store has for the upcoming holiday shopping season, for now, the program will only be offered in 16 states, and customers can only choose wine from the store's private members Mark brand. Sam's Club says it hopes to add more states and wines to the selection next year. Imagine having a pair of lawn ornaments worth $250,000 happen to one family in England. Among the items they decided to sell when moving to a new home were these two statues that were in their garden. The family paid a couple $100 for them at an auction 15 years ago. They were thought to be replicas of an ancient Egyptian relics dating back thousands of years. But when the new auction house put them on the block, eagle-eyed bidders realized they were actually the real thing. Bidding that started at about $400 quickly went up to $250,000. The winning bid went to an international gallery. Researchers are looking into exactly how old the statues are and how they got to England. Looked like they crawled. And one city in Greece just made its first test flight using a drone to deliver medicine. They're looking for new transport methods that are better for the environment and can reach isolated places. NTD's Andrew Thomas has the story.
Authorities in one Greek city recently made the first test flight of a drone that will be used to deliver medicines. The drone flew from Trikala, stopped outside a pharmacy, and then landed in a farmer's field in a nearby village.
Technology can give real solutions to real problems that we have today. Today we transported medicines to a pharmacy nearby. Tomorrow it could be to transport medicines to some emergency. The future is here as long as we have courage.
The European-funded program is called Harmony. The aim is to create more environmentally friendly transport methods.
It was difficult since we had to be according to the law, the Greek law and the European law. We hope that the future will compensate us by delivering medicaments to many people.
The drones will be used to transport medication to people who have mobility issues and those who are isolated. Officials said the project is particularly crucial during a pandemic. Greece is full of mountainous villages. Locals can become cut off in the winter if there's heavy snowfall.
I believe we are one step closer to the future. At some point, all these methods will be adopted and implemented to make our lives and citizens' lives easier.
The Harmony program also includes autonomous vehicles. It will be tested in 6 cities in Europe and Britain with different sizes, infrastructure, and demographics. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
That's the latest business updates for today, but you can still catch NTD Evening News with Stephanie Cox. That's at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. For NTD Business, that's all for today. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Don't forget to catch all of our programs on TV. NTD Evening News is on every weekday at 6:30 p.m. Find your local NTD channel at ntd.com/TV.